Just want to say hi. Doing my first video on TikTok. Story about my new to me boat. I'm currently here at Lake Perry in Kansas, and I'm on my Hunter 240, new to me. I bought it last year from a guy that had it forever, and he was looking to offload it, and so I was fortunate to get it and whatnot. I've been a boat person all my life, but I've never been a sailboat person. It wasn't until I saw a random video on YouTube talking about the cheapest way to get into sailing, and it was talking about using a sunfish. I saw that video, I was hooked instantly, and now I own 3 sailboats later. I own a sunfish, a Hobie 16, and now this Hunter 240. The story today is about me taking my family out on the Hunter 240 for the first time. Out here, I've sailed with other people that are sailors and have a clue about sailing and whatnot, and always my biggest fear about taking the family out was me being the only one out there that has any clue about what's going on and how to do stuff and everything. Finally, we had a day picked out. We were going to come out and everything. The biggest mistake I made that day, it was the fact that the winds were blowing more than I wanted them to be. It was probably the forecast was 10 to 15. I get out here, it's probably 15 to 20 and whatnot. The water had white caps on the on the waves and everything, and I knew better. I shouldn't have come out, but the family was jazzed about coming out here. You know, we had the cooler packed. You know, the kids are ready to go and whatnot, and so we get started. We get loaded up and everything. I've been having issues with my Mercury 99. It wasn't running right, and I thought I had fixed it and got it running better, and so I thought it was good to go, but from the get-go I could tell it wasn't 100%. We get it out of the slip, and I'm having issues with the motor already and whatnot, and so I'm yanking and pulling on it and whatnot, and every pull I'm getting more and more tired and more frustrated with it and everything. And so finally we get out, and me being the only person that knows anything about the lines and the sails and all that kind of stuff, I'm trying to teach my wife just the basics. Here's the rudder, here's how you hold it, just try and point it so we're in this direction and whatnot. We get the mainsail up. I didn't put the jib out or anything, just had the mainsail going, and we're cruising, we're having a good time and whatnot. But then the kids, of course it's their first time on a sailboat, they're used to power boats and that kind of stuff. They're like, when can we go swimming? And so the spot I was wanting to go swimming, it wasn't an easy, or on a typical day it's easy to get to, but for today it was going to be kind of a pain in the butt with the wind and all this kind of jazz and everything. So finally, after being out there maybe 30 minutes, I make the call. It's like, guys, we need to go in. This isn't a good day for us and whatnot. And so so with the wind blowing as bad as it was, I'm trying to teach my wife how to keep the tiller pointed in the right direction and whatnot, and so I can be pointed into the wind to get the mainsail down and all that jazz. And God love her, she's doing her best. It wasn't her fault at all. I'm trying to teach her how to do it amidst dealing with the wind and all this kind of stuff. While we're out there, the motor is being a pain in the butt. It doesn't want to start. I'm yanking on it. Like I said, every time I pull, I'm getting more and more tired, more and more frustrated, more and more everything and whatnot, and it's not wanting to go. And I'm trying to get it so the boom's somewhat in line with the boat, so I can get the main down and everything. And finally, after fighting it for about 30 minutes, I was able to get everything packed up in the mainsail quasi in. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. But as we're out there, I have the rudder, and I just lose steering all of a sudden. It's just like all of a sudden I have it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And so I looked behind, and the rudder's still there. It wasn't like I'd hit something or whatnot, but it was just something that just felt off. Finally, I was able to get the boat back into the dock and all that kind of stuff and everything. And again, I look back and everything's still there. There isn't any damage to the boat or whatnot. It was a good learning lesson for me. I know being the captain, you're the one that's in charge of the boat. You're the one that's got to make the tough calls, and sometimes the tough calls with clients, which I don't have clients, I just have family and whatnot. But like I said before, everyone had the cooler ready to go. Everybody's life jackets were on. Everybody was jazzed about going out in the sailboat for the first time with Dad and all that kind of stuff. And the kids, they're 12 and 9. They haven't sailed before, and so I knew they weren't going to be of any help initially and whatnot. Looking back on it, I should have known better. I should have known, let's try and keep it so the winds are below 10. Everything's calmer. Waiting for the motor to be in better shape and whatnot. I ended up coming back a couple days later, and I was looking at stuff, and I'm trying to figure out what was going on with my rudder, and I realized that the rudder was gone. So I don't know if it fell off while we were coming back to the dock, or if we got to the dock and it fell off after the fact, or whatnot. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm trying to source a rudder right now. And so there's that. And then I ended up taking the motor off and taking it to a local place here in Kansas City, U.S. Boat Works. They're great. They do boat stuff or boat work on my boats at work and whatnot. And so yeah, I knew they were able to get my motor tip top and everything. Today I brought the motor down, got it loaded. Yeah, it runs great now. So I know my limitations. I'm not the most mechanical, but initially I was able to tear apart the carb and get it cleaned and all that kind of stuff, but it just wasn't enough. It needed more love and knowledge than I had and whatnot. And but no, like I said, just it didn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're a rookie like I am or whatnot. When you're taking people out, where it's your family, friends, clients, whomever, you're the one that's in charge and has to make that tough decision. And so yeah, like I said, fortunately for us, everyone was fine. There was no issues, other than the rudder snapping off. It's a pricey mistake, but it could be, for a new one, $1,500 for a used one. And I got people here at the yacht club are looking for a used one for me somewhere. And so yeah. But like I said, I shared the story with a fellow TikToker, and she was like, "Yeah, make a video about it and just tell about it and everything." And I was kind of hesitant about it just because it is embarrassing, and everyone's gonna bash me saying, "Oh, you should have known better," blah blah blah. But I'm a firm believer you do learn from your mistakes and whatnot, and if someone will learn from mine, great, and save them the hassle and the headache and the financial woes that I had to go through. Getting the motor fixed up and everything, that was $500. A rudder, brand new one, like I said before, between $1,000 and $1,500. That's just getting it here. That's not including getting the boat out of the water and mounting it, or getting it mounted back on the boat and all that jazz. And now the time that I'm not able to go out in the water. It's a summer. Everyone wants to be out in the water in the summer or whatnot. And this happened 3 weeks ago, and so yeah. Yeah, that's about it for right now. I'll post more TikTok stuff in the future, I guess, because I guess this is kind of neat to do, but we'll see. So thanks.